Hiya, howdy, how are ya? Welcome to another episode of Craven, Some Raven. So, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about some prospects that the Ravens have visited with or brought in for workouts, just the overall general people or prospects that the Ravens have talked to throughout the East-West Shrine game, Pro Days, Senior Bowl. Let's see what else we got, like private workouts, people that they brought in. None of this stuff is finalized, but I just thought some of these names are interesting. I saw a post on Reddit about like all the different players who have visited with each team, and I was looking at the Ravens list, and there were some names that jumped out to me. And a lot of the players they draft, they end up visiting with. Not always, but sometimes. So, I'm gonna get right into things. Actually, you know what? I have a sponsor, so I'm going to just read that right off the bat. Just get that over with. You got to make that money, man. It's business. You know how it is. So, this episode is sponsored by Six Packs. Whether you want to get drunk or look ripped, grab a six-pack. Good stuff there. I don't know what they're selling, but hey, if they want to pay me to say that, I'm all for it. So, go to sixpack.com and pick up your six-pack today. So, getting into things, there's I saw there's that list on Reddit, and the Ravens they had a smaller list than a lot of other teams. So I wonder how up to date this is. They say it's up to date, but there's always reports. Like I have 3 other players who are reported to be visiting with the Ravens, so this list isn't finalized. But I just wanted to get some of these names out there. So all the players that they've met with throughout all the different games and pro days and all sorts of stuff. I'm just gonna go down the list and then I'll kind of talk about some players that stand out afterwards. So at the top of the list is Nick Allegretti. I regret that. He's a center from Illinois. They met him at his pro day. Then we got Mike Bell, safety, Fresno State. Met him at the pro day, at his pro day. We got Marquise Blair, safety, another safety. What is that saying? Out of Utah. Met him at the Senior Bowl. Then we got Max Crosby, defensive end, Eastern Michigan. And that was a private workout. And then Jalen Ferguson, defensive end, outside linebacker, Louisiana Tech, private workout. Jazz Ferguson, Jazz hands, wide receiver at Northwestern State. It says COM. I don't know what that means. We communicated with him? I don't know. Lamont Gaylord. The fucking Gaylord. Guard out of Georgia. We met him or talked to him at the East-West Shrine game. Not me, as we just, Ravens. I'm going to just include myself in the Ravens, picture because I'm about it. Then we also met with Ulysses Gilbert III. Great name. Outside linebacker / inside linebacker from Akron. Small school kind of guy. Met him at his pro day. And we got Michael Jackson. Cornerback, Miami. Met him at the East-West Shrine game. We got Jalen Jelks, defensive end, outside linebacker guy from Oregon. He was a Senior Bowl man. Then Eric McCoy, guard center, Texas A&M. Private workout. Private workout. Come on in. Yeah, close the door behind you. We got Anthony Nelson, defensive end. Kind of like a 3-5 technique, defensive lineman on the edge. From Iowa. Met him at the Senior Bowl. Apparently we met with Ed Oliver at his pro day. I know Joe Cullen. He was there at Houston. I think he was one of the coaches there. So we got an up close and personal look at him. Then we got Charles Omenihu, defensive end from Texas. We met him at the Senior Bowl. And then Reggie White Jr., wide receiver, Monmouth. That was a private workout. I didn't know Reggie White had a kid and a junior. Cool. And then Chase Winovich, defensive end, outside linebacker guy from Michigan. Met him at the Michigan Pro Day. And then we got some upcoming visits, 3 upcoming visits I've heard about. There's definitely going to be more because I think we can meet with more players. I think we have like up to 30, or each player has 30. I kind of forget. But DK Metcalf has an upcoming visit with the Ravens. Josh Jacobs has an upcoming visit with the Ravens. And Sharif Miller starts his visits with the Ravens on Monday, on April 1st. So, just getting into things, something stood out. Quite a few outside linebackers. Quite a few, like, guard centers. But mostly a lot of defensive ends, which I thought was interesting. You know, they're really going to try to replace Terrell Suggs and Za'Darius Smith. That's what it seems like with these visits. You know, I thought there'd be more wide receivers on this list. But yeah, mostly defensive ends. If there's one position that's standing out, it's defensive end. So, and I think just them doing that, making these visits, like with all these defensive ends, it tells you what they're looking for. A defensive end. And I mean, I've said before that they're drafting Clelin Ferrell in the first round. Whether I agree with it or not, I dreamt it. So if I'm just going to predict that my dreams come true, I know I just watched OA on Netflix. You know, maybe the world is stranger than we think. And maybe this stuff kind of happens. Maybe sometimes you dream in premonitions. So I'm just going to go with that and just hope I'm right. And if I'm wrong, well, I never believed in it in the first place, so I'm hedging my bets. Because I don't want them to draft Clelin Ferrell, but if they do, I had a dream about it. You know, I don't ever dream. I've never dreamt something and it come true. At least something not noticeable enough for me to remember. But then bringing in all of these outside linebackers / defensive ends, you know, just edge guys, I think it's saying something. I think they're going to be looking at the top of the draft for an edge rusher. They're not they will be looking later rounds, but I think if you're going to want to get an edge rusher, you go ahead and get the top guy. You know, get your best guy. Do it. So, another thing, so the private workouts, you know, they're not even close to being done. But there are some notable names on here. And looking at, like, past, you know, we brought in Hayden Hurst and Lamar Jackson on private workouts. So that's 2 first-rounders just from last year. That's as far as I looked. I didn't really look any deeper. I just saw, like, the basic list of what they did last year. Just to kind of compare. Just see, like, who did they bring in? You know, they brought in Darius Leonard, too. So I was kind of pissed. They should have totally drafted him. I know we had C.J. Mosley and I like our inside linebackers, but Darius Leonard was the Rookie of the Year. He probably wouldn't have been with the Ravens because he wouldn't have played that much. You know, maybe Kenny Young would have been if he played the whole year and started. I don't know. He had some good games, that's for sure. But if you got C.J. Mosley, you ain't putting in Kenny Young. That's just the way it is, you know. So, I think the private workouts are the more important thing. Like, you can meet any player at any pro day during the Senior Bowl. You know, you go ahead and meet with them. But bringing in someone on a private visit, you know, hey, we're going to buy your plane, fly out here, come and see where you could be working. That's private workouts are the recruiting of the NFL. You know, you do it to top-level guys that you really need to see in person, or you do it to guys who you think might go undrafted and you would really like on your team. So you show interest in them so that way when it comes time when they weren't drafted, that they're like, oh, I already saw the facility, I like the coaches, I can put names and faces together, and I like the way they think. You know, I think that's a huge part of why players end up where they do as undrafted free agents. When you bring in the top talent guys on private workouts, you're really just trying to make sure that you're not making a mistake by drafting somebody. Really meeting face to face with somebody, talking to them, scoring knowledge. Like, what happens when we give you $1 million? Huh? What happens? Looking them square in the face and seeing the reaction when you ask some shit. That's the stuff that you can determine. So yeah. Dude, yeah. Many a pro days, bro. Yeah, so some names that I'm looking at that I think we should keep our eyes on, especially when it comes to private workout guys in the early rounds. The name that's jumped most out to me was Erik McCoy, the center/guard, Texas A&M. I mean, if they bring in someone else, that might change. But as of right now, Erik McCoy, guard, center, he is on most people's list the second center in the draft. But a lot of people think he's better than Garrett Bradbury just because of his position flexibility, and that he's not as good in open space as Garrett Bradbury, but at the point of attack, like right where he's standing, he's better than no one else is better than him. And I guess he had a really good Senior Bowl too, or not Senior Bowl. He had some really good game. I really didn't do much work on him just because linemen are boring to watch, and I'm no pro scout. So I think that's a name we need to watch. Maybe end of the first, if we trade down, I think offensive linemen will be in play there, and I think this could be one of those guys. He could end up Erik McCoy and Ravens, synonymous, the two names together. You never know. And then the other private workout name that stood out to me for like an earlier round guy was Jalen Ferguson. And he's a Louisiana Tech defensive end, outside linebacker, super raw, small school guy, but he beat Terrell Suggs' record. And I mean, if you're going to try to replace Terrell Suggs, might as well do it with the person who broke his record. I know he did it against smaller schools, smaller competition dudes, but at the Senior Bowl, you could see the skill sets were there. The only thing is, like, watching his tape, it's like he's either slow or not trying. And if you can't tell, then why would you draft this guy? But I bring his name up because they brought him in for a private workout, but then also met with him somewhere else. It didn't specify where, but there was a little star symbol next to his name on the list, which, according to their key, meant that they met with him on multiple occasions. So you're talking a guy that they've talked to twice in private. I mean, hey, if he's there, if they trade back into the second round, and maybe. I mean, third round is when I would be okay with it. But he used to be discussed as like a first round guy, but now I think he's more second round kind of guy. So I think if he falls in the second round, the Ravens might look to grab him. Another name off the private workout list was Max Crosby, and I talked about him as like a late round guy that I liked at that position. And the things I liked about him were his pass rush ability. Not so much against the run, but he's got excellent pass rush moves, quickness, burst off the line, can bend well. Yeah, he's just not big enough. He's tall enough, just a little bit. He's just lanky and white. That's really what it is. And but he does that. He's got that peanut special where he punches the ball all the time. So they bring him into a workout. When I saw that name, I was like, yes. I'm talking 5th round. He's your guy. Someone who could come in at like an auxiliary third down, but he's not gonna be there for the run game. Like he's just not good at it. But he's good. He's good against the pass. He's good. He's good. Yeah, he's good against the pass. I mean, like pass rush wise, he'll get you some sacks. Like I imagine like him and Tim Williams on one side, and they could wreak havoc. But those are some names that I really liked, and because private workouts I think are a little bit more important, kind of like I said. So they still have more private workouts to do. Apparently, DK Metcalf is coming into town. Yeah, please don't draft him. Please do not draft him. Please. I get it. If you're scouting off a highlight tape, yeah, he's the best receiver. But if you're going off consistency and then actually watching his fucking games, no. No. He's like a third-round talent to me. I mean, second round, I'm being a little dramatic. But hey, man, DK Metcalf ain't that good. I'm saying it now. And I really hope the Ravens do not draft him. I don't want the headache. Josh Jacobs, I'm not as high on him, too. He's got a visit coming up. I'm not as high in on him. I mean, if he's so great, why wasn't he the starter? Yeah? And what happens when he's going to go up in competition and then become the guy? Well, that makes no fucking sense to me. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying anybody can't do it. But why are you banking on him when he's got a teammate who did it better and actually started? He's more likely. Like, who's more likely to have the better season or the better career, Damian Harris or Josh Jacobs? People say Josh Jacobs because he has more tread on his tires. But you know what? Who's getting that second contract and producing? Please, let me hear the names. Because the names are Adrian Peterson, still kind of doing stuff. Elite amongst elite. Did Le'Veon Bell ever get the second contract? Or is this his second contract that he's disputing over? We got Frank Gore, who's probably on his fourth, fifth contract. Some guys who are like Hall of Fame players. Those are the only ones who are consistently good on a second contract. Shady McCoy, yeah, he was, but not now. So it's the tread argument. I hate the tread on tires argument. Oh, well, he's got a lot of tread left on his tires. They didn't use him a lot at Alabama. Why? Because he wasn't as good as his teammate. That's why. And he's got all that tread. Doesn't mean he's all of a sudden just going to be able to use it up. He's not going to be able to do donuts. He'll still burn out those tires. He's still going to be good for 4 years. Like, whether you had like 600 carries in college or 200 in college, either way, you're going to get 4 years. So, yeah, Josh Jacobs, no bueno. I'm not as high on him as other people. Yeah, and so what happens when he becomes a 3-down back? Is he going to have the same effect? I really don't think so. I really don't. And then Sharif Miller, he's coming in on April 4th. I've never watched him, so maybe I'll have to give him a gander. But I like the name. I really do. We need to save the Sharif. The fish are dying, man. So, 2 other names that I like that we met with on the at the Senior Bowl. And you know how much some Ravens love their Senior Bowl players. You know it. I know it. He, she, me. We all know it. Why don't you set it to Wumbo? I Wumbo. You Wumbo. He, she, me. Senior Bowl Wumbo. So, 2 names. Anthony Nelson and Charles Omenihu. Both of these guys were on my list for outside linebacker that I want the Ravens to target in different rounds, respectfully. Like, I think Charles Omenihu, second-round guy, and second-round starter. Charles Omenihu, he's one of these guys that just comes to fucking play. He makes plays, dude. Dude, he makes fucking plays, dude. Like, I don't know how many times I gotta say this on this podcast until everyone who's a Ravens fan hears it. Right now, I only got like 5-6 people. But hey, once this thing grows, once I get thinking 15, 16, like what? Get your life, man. Get your life. So Charles Omenihu. Any time I was watching a Texas game or watching a tape on a player who was playing against Texas, just because Texas is one of those teams, like if there's game tape against them, you got to watch it, just because that kind of shows you where they are, because they're a pretty consistently middle ground team. And his name just all the time popped up. Any player I was watching against Texas, his name would pop up twice in the game tape. And I'm watching an offensive player. I'm not watching Texas's team. And his name is coming up. So I didn't really watch what he did play to play, but he made plays. He was making plays. I'm going to have to do a deeper and deeper dive, because I still haven't watched his tape yet, but I'm singing his praises, which is I don't like to do. I don't like to sing praises of players that I haven't seen. But I mean, I technically have seen him, or at least I've seen him make plays without even watching him. And if you're showing up without me watching, then good on you, bro. And good on you. I think he's going to be a good starter in this league. And then next, Anthony Nelson. I really liked him too. He's more of a third round kind of guy. Excellent against the pass, excellent against the run. Just an overall good defensive end. There's no deficiencies in his game. He's got great size and uses his length and leverage to get off those blockers, shed blockers, get to the passer, run down the backside of runs. Just an excellent player. Good dude. I don't really know. I don't know if he's a good dude or not. But, yeah. And Jalen Jokes, man. Not a huge fan. They met with Ed Oliver, though. That's pretty cool. If he somehow falls, I don't think he will after that pro day of his. Man, fucking an elite pro day. He had an elite pro day. He put up, in the 3-cone drill, I think it was, he was faster than AB. He was faster than wide receivers. Some of the top wide receivers in the league, I think he was faster than Odell, faster than Julio in the 3-cone. Or not, maybe 3-cone or the shuttle. It was one of those, like the short area quickness drills. And he beat all of those guys. Very fucking impressive. Oh, shit. Let's see. Any other names? Yeah, so there's a few guards and centers, so I think they're going to try to go interior line. I just saw today on the Ravens Reddit, apparently Marshall Yanda's thinking about retirement. Fuck. Bro, what are we going to do? That might change my mock. I'm going to do another mock. I think I'm also going to redo my top 10 wide receivers, because it's changed quite a bit. And I kind of wrote it down this morning. I might do one later. I can't post this till tonight or tomorrow just because of the way my RSS feed works. Oh, what was that? Yeah, so I'm excited to see the players they're bringing in. Doesn't mean they're going to draft them, but guys who they bring in are more likely to be drafted by them. So it shows you who they're looking at, who they're interested in. Like, okay, I see you, girl. So I think that's gonna do it. I can't think of anything else that's on my mind about this. Oh, Chase Winovich, we met him at the pro day. I mean, I'm not too insane on the pro day visits, just because it's like, well, we send a scout everywhere. Like, who did he meet with? Did he just meet with like Joe Schmo scout? Did we send an intern to go say what's up? But I really like Chase Winovich as a prospect, so I was really glad that we went and met with him. So, with that being said, that's gonna do it. Remember, guys, if you're craving some Raven, come back, listen to some more episodes. I got a fever, and the only prescription is more Raven. Got a fever, and the only prescription, more Ravens. Did that sound like him? I didn't know he was. Didn't know he sounded like that. Christopher Walken, that's his name. I couldn't think of it for a second. Christopher Walken's in my apartment. Talking to my friend all wrong. Anyways, if you like the podcast, feel free to share it, comment, rate it, however you're listening on this thing. Just get in touch with me. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm on other podcast spots, so if you want to be able to, lock your phone, put it in your pocket, and listen to some crazy Ravens content, then that's what you got to do. Go on the iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, or not SoundCloud, Spotify. And if you really want to get in touch with me, make sure I answer it. You can send me an email at csrpod@gmail.com. That's spelled CSRPOD. So with that being said, have a good day, and go Ravens!